consumers are very based. They've grown up in this very torturous political, ideological environment. They have very strong opinions. They don't want to be like millennials. They've seen how uncool so many of them are. You have a certain bar that you live to. That can be high, that can be low. Pick one. You know what a low standard looks like. It looks like what most people look like today. You know what a high standard looks like. It looks like everybody you follow on Instagram that's hot and sexy and cute and fit and buff, and you wished you were them.
Dang, it's a major mic drop on that.
7-8 years, I was like a Hollywood personal trainer. I trained people in the entertainment industry, and I saw the fame monsters, I called, absolutely devour people's souls. Every year in Los Angeles, in Hollywood, there are tens of thousands of men and women that move to the city, and they want to be famous. They want to be an actor. They want to make it. They want to whatever that fame means to them. And if you want fame, fame will eat you alive. And most people online today, especially, they want fame.
Alrighty, welcome back to the Real Femme Sapien YouTube channel where I give cultural commentary. And today we have a Chad, dad, husband, and entrepreneur. So if you are a young man who is watching, you definitely want to bring a notebook. That way you can crush everyone else who is your age. That way you can be one step ahead of the game in life, love, and also professionalism. So if you like this content, make sure you give it a big thumbs up, subscribe down below, and hit the notification bell. A lot of you are not on Twitter, which is now called X, and I need to adapt to the new way of living, the new normal. I need to call it X. However, I am very fluent in X. So I am able to network with tons of people that are out there, which is how I found this gem of a human being. His name is AJAC, and you guys are going to hear a lot about him today. Alrighty, do you want to introduce yourself to the people?
What's up, Aly? Yeah, so a quick introduction. So like you said, on X, I have a large following there. My background, I'm 35. I've been a personal trainer actually for 15 years. So since I was 20, it's the only job I've ever had. And I've had my own online business since 2017. So however many years that is, about 7 or 8, depending upon how you count it. I've sort of occupied this interesting, whatever you want to call it, dissident, right-wing, political niche position of being known for fitness, but then also being known as like a cultural commentator, role model, sort of manosphere figure at times, whether accidentally or intentionally. And I'm also married, obviously, as you said. I have 2 kids, and I think that's all the relevant information for the audience.
Yes. Yeah. And also you get mistaken for Jesus quite frequently. So that's very important.
That as well.
Okay, so what inspired you to get into the fitness industry in the first place? So I think you said you started probably in your early 20s, right?
Yeah, I was 20. It wasn't inspiration so much as desperation. So I think your audience is probably a little bit, I'm sure they're younger than I am, Zoomers. So I went to college. This was like 2007. So I graduated high school in 2007. And, you and I were in the same age cohort. So the big mission that we were all instilled with was that you had to go to college. Like if you want to make it in life, go to college. Everything's about college. Nobody really knew any alternative. All the statistics were tried out that if you don't go to college, you're a failure and a loser. Like that was it. Personally, I didn't like school at all. I hated school. I hated K-12. The whole system, I still to this day feel like I had 12 years of my life wasted for the most part. But my parents were very like just typical middle-class boomer parents. They're great people, but like, you got to go to college. All right. So I went to college in San Francisco. And at the time, I was very adamant. I never wanted to have a real job ever. So I was dancing in high school, and I wanted to be a professional ballet dancer. So those people who have followed me a long time, this is like deep AJAC lore at this point. But that was the plan. I was going to be a ballet dancer. I was going to dance professionally. I loved the arts, loved artistic expression, loved ballet. I could go into the whole sort of artistic journey there. But that was the plan. And then that did not happen. I got injured really badly freshman year of college. I tore off part of my left hamstring tendon. Yeah. So that leg doesn't work right. It still doesn't. Never worked right again. So that's a pretty severe injury. And after that happened, I sort of had to figure out, like, what am I going to do with myself since, okay, like, I'm not going to be able to perform. Now what? And at the same time this was happening, it's like 2007, 2008, the Great Recession was happening. So Great Recession is happening. You probably remember this, like, foreclosures, economy super depressed. It's this really big deal. It's in the news. And that was like a red pill moment for me. I was just very stunned at how adults couldn't have seen that coming. Yeah, it's like one of those moments in time where like you're in that. Yeah, I was still a teenager, but I was at that stage of realizing like, wait, like nobody actually knows anything. You know, the assumptions you have about older people having an understanding about the world, and you should listen to adults, listen to your elders. Most people don't know anything. They have no foresight. And also going to school in San Francisco, I was exposed to like everything that's called woke now, and diversity and inclusion and critical race theory, all this stuff. I was exposed to it there. And that was another kind of like a red pill experience, as it's called, where I realized like these people are insane. And the university system is rotting from the inside. So I was going through this, very, whatever you want to call it, not torturous, but sort of like the stage of upheaval in my like young life of like, what am I going to do? The world doesn't work how I think. Nobody really knows what's happening. I'm not sure what the future is. So that led me to personal training finally. Since I was having to do my own rehab, I was in the gym. I always liked to work out. I started lifting when I was 15 to get girls, very basic motivation. And personal training was the only job I could think of where I could get certified in a weekend, and it paid more than minimum wage. So like that was it. There wasn't any sort of grand motivation or deep. It was like, wow, I need to do something for a job. I'm going to graduate soon. My whole college experience has been a complete waste. Like I got the absolutely stereotypical like stupid liberal arts degree that has no real value in the real world. What do? I'd be a personal trainer. So I started personal training, and as it turned out, I actually was good at it. I like to teach. I'm good at talking. And, at the time I was 20, so it required me to sort of come out of my shell and develop real people skills. And I just kept doing it. And there's been multiple times I've wanted to quit where I get tired of it, or I've had enough, this is boring. But once you've done something 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 6, 8, 10 years, at that point, you're probably pretty good. I have supreme confidence in my skill set. So I just kept at it. And as it turned out, I was very fortunate to live in the era that I live in, where social media became this cultural force in the world. And personal training went from this sort of can kicker job that, only idiots would do. When I started it to like, 5-10 years later, suddenly it was super cool. There's huge fitness YouTube channels. There's fitness culture. Zoomers are crazy into fitness now. You being like a fitness influencer personality became also like a desired profession for people. But also expanded the monetary capacity. Whereas before you'd only get paid hourly, you could work at a gym, that was it. Now you can be making millions of dollars as a fitness individual online. So I got born in the age that I live in, so I was lucky that way.
Yes, if you're in your 20s and you're watching, you should definitely go work out, because I don't think it's the same in your 30s. I'm 29. I'm trying not to be black-pilled about turning 30, but man, I just feel like my mitochondrial density was something different and something fierce when I was 24. Like the stuff that I would do is just insane. And it's a really good life hack to aging better. If you've ever seen people who are fit at least one time in their life, how they age versus somebody who never was, it's a really big deal. But you know how you were saying that you just kind of fell into it? I think for me, I was in the military, and there's sometimes where you have these really long shifts that are 24 hours long. It's not really important. It's called, I think it's fire guard, something like that. You have to make sure the building doesn't burn down, but it never burns down. And I'm talking about stateside. So that is your job, is to be awake in case there's a fire. And during those shifts, you can leave if you're working alongside someone. And you can go and you can do things, and I don't think you're supposed to, but I would just go and I would work out for 2 hours, sometimes in the middle of the night, because some of the gyms on the installation were open for 24 hours. So I found myself just working out because at first I wanted to lose weight, but then I found out that I really liked it, and then I kept doing it. And I just don't know why other people don't take that opportunity. I think once you see what it feels like to be healthy, I think you get addicted to it, because you can see what it feels like when you're not in comparison. But if you never have that frame of reference, then you probably won't pursue it. It's kind of hard to explain. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
People who have never been fit ever, their default state is being diseased. It's being tired. It's being inflamed. It's being run down. It's, like they don't know how bad they actually feel. And then if you're someone that is fit and healthy, you have a much more powerful baseline as to when you're at your peak versus when you're at a low. But trying to get someone to understand that experience when they've never actually experienced it, that's always the impossible obstacle. You can't make someone feel something they've never felt ever. Like, they have to go through that themselves.
Yeah, that was definitely a red pilling moment for me. So in my culture, we just don't work out a lot. I don't think Puerto Ricans are really known for being athletes outside of J-Lo. Okay, she's the only one. And when I was in the military, I ended up putting on some weight. I was at one point, I think maybe 166 pounds, definitely at least 157 at one point. And my coworkers, they had a different cultural upbringing. And they just kept saying, you should work out and it'll fix a lot of things for you. And I asked, how do I lose weight? They said, okay, you just need to reduce your calories and work out more. And they just kept saying to do it. And at one point, I just got so fed up because you don't want to be the chunky person in the military. I just got fed up and I was like, fine, okay, like I'll work out. And that was when I was like, whoa, I really like this stuff. And they were right the whole time. But I don't think if I didn't have that exposure to them, I don't think I would have pursued it at all. Anyway. Moving on.
Yeah, when you joined, though, did you have to, I assume there was some kind of fitness test, right? I mean, even being a woman, you had to do something that was reasonably challenging.
Oh, no.
Oh, okay, that's great.
They changed the standard for women. I think you're familiar with that, but they tried to have a gender neutral fitness test. So they had the Army and Combat Fitness Test, the ACFT, that replaced the APFT, the Army Physical Fitness Test. When I joined, what I had to do to leave basic training, which is that's not the true standard for physical fitness. Your true standard for physical fitness is what you need to pass in order to go to your trade school is what they have. It's called AIT. That's where you learn your trade for the military. So to pass this kind of weaker standard for basic training, because they know that sometimes they're getting people straight up off the couch. They can't do the full physical capacity of it. But what I had to do to pass basic training initially was I had to do 13 push-ups. When I showed up, I could only do 3. And then I had to do probably something around 50 or more sit-ups. The sit-ups were always a high number that you just had to perform them. I never felt like it was graded at all, or scaled, I should say. And then I had to run 2 miles within, a certain amount of time. I want to say that maybe it was over 21 minutes. Then you finish your trade school and you have to meet an actual physical fitness test. But when I first showed up, I hated everything that they were making me do. It was very painful for me. And, maybe you can talk about chronic injury, but all of the physical intensity that I did when I joined, because I was coming from the couch, I was playing video games, I wasn't a physically active individual. Most people aren't. I ended up with a stress fracture in my left femur neck, but I didn't want to stay because there's a group of people that if you get injured, there's a group of people that get held back.
Yeah.
They're not always getting held back because they're injured. Sometimes they're getting held back because they're a little bit cuckoo in the head. And I didn't want to be demoralized by hanging out with these people. So even though my literal bone was hurting, I still stayed and I went. I didn't want to get left behind. I just wanted to complete it. And sometimes that was a good call. Sometimes it was a bad call. It doesn't really matter. But that was the physical standard sort of that I had to meet when I joined. It's not very high. And I think it's always so curious when people hold the military in high regard. I don't think that.
Yeah, you're not giving me confidence about America's fighting force at all. But I know they've been lowering the standards for lots of things for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But stress fractures are super. I have a lot of friends who are vets, mostly special operators, but they're always. I mean, their bodies are destroyed. But for them, it's because they've run so many miles. They've wrecked with so much weight. They're putting in whatever, double digits weekly, and then whether it's a foot fracture, or ankle, or chronic knee pain. Hips are super common, low back, a discus destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the unfortunate reality
of
that role.
Well, it also gave me a more of an appreciation for fitness. When you can overcome a disability, or when even though this doesn't work as it should, but if I keep myself moving, it will work better. That can be a very powerful motivator. I think that I often work out to kind of fix some chronic pain that I have to deal with. And young people are very disillusioned about that sort of thing. They really freak out when they get their first injury. When I think, I don't know if you could speak to something on that. I kind of ramble a little bit.
No. I mean, yeah. I mean, when I got into lifting, I mean, even before that, like I was always one of those guys. I didn't like sports. Like I was not a sports guy at all. I was not a jock. I didn't care about competition that way at all, about competing that way. But I was just very enthralled with the like aesthetics of power. So I grew up watching superhero shows, like a lot of young guys did during that time. I read comic books.
Mm.
You watch movies. You watch Conan the Barbarian, Excalibur. You see these guys who just look heroic, and it just seemed very intuitive to me that if you're going to, sort of believe in something, you're going to believe in these heroic qualities and believe in courage. You have to look the part. You can't separate your mentality from your physicality at all. Those are the same thing. How you look is who you are. So I've gotten to lifting because I want to look heroic. I want to be that guy, and it worked. But my first injury was actually pretty early. I wrestled freshman year of high school, and I strained a muscle in my lower back called the quadratus lumborum. It's like the right side of my lower back. I strained it really bad, and that led to like a disc sort of like bulge irritation. And I actually had chronic back pain for years from that. I still do to this day. Occasionally I'll have that disc flare up, and it hurts. It can be pretty debilitating. But that's freshman year of high school. So my back would actually go out like every 3 or 4 months all throughout high school. Which was a very weird thing. I realized like I have congenital sort of genetic predisposition for having low back issues, and I eventually solved that. But I also always had this mentality that I wasn't going to let that kind of pain stop me.
Yeah.
Like why would you? I had people in my family. Part of my family's Hispanic. I'm Hispanic, half Hispanic, however you want to think about it. Most of them are obese, overweight. They're in chronic pain. They're shaped like bags of Crisco. Unfortunately, my family's going to see this, but you're an asshole. You guys know what you look like. But you see how unhealthy people are. It's like, why would you ever want to be that? Yeah, and my parents were lifelong worker outers. They've always gone to the gym. It's like my initial role models were people who are fit and healthy. So it never occurred to me to be any other way. So they have very high standards for themselves, and that's why I always try to teach now, whether people are younger or older. How you look and how you feel in your health, it's having standards. That's it. You have a certain threshold, you have a certain bar that you live to. That can be high, that can be low. Pick one. You know what a low standard looks like. It looks like what most people look like today. You know what a high standard looks like. It looks like everybody you follow on Instagram that's hot and sexy and cute and fit and buff, and you wished you were them.
Dang, it's a major mic drop on that. So speaking of high standards, did you ever think that you would sell over $2 million in digital products?
That's a good segue. So my business, for those who are like wondering, like, what does this guy do? What the hell? So I have a following, obviously, on X. I don't use YouTube. I should probably use YouTube more. YouTube's kind of a place to be now. Video is like the thing now. But anyway, so I have a following on X. I have a following on Instagram. So ebooks, which came out like in 2010, or probably even earlier than that. Well, I'll tell a little bit of the story. So when I started my first year of training, so as personal trainer, year one, I really didn't know how to sell. And personal training is a deceptively hard job. You have to have exercise science knowledge. You have to have people skills. You have to have salesmanship skills, the sales job. And selling fitness, by my estimation, is probably the hardest thing to sell, because you're trying to sell people a future version of themselves that's hotter and sexier and thinner and cuter and fitter and looks better naked. Here's a potential version of you. It doesn't actually exist yet. And you getting to this point is dependent upon you doing, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 12, 20 weeks of work that you're not going to want to do. Is going to be challenging. But if you do it, you could be that guy or girl. That's hard to sell. So I had to learn salesmanship skills. It was year one, and this is 2010. I bought this ebook, is what they're called now, digital download. It was called like Six Figure Personal Trainer, I think it was. I don't even remember who the author was. It was called Six Figure Personal Trainer. This was 2010. This was before Bidenomics and inflation. So like the big sell with that ebook was you could make $100,000 a year, which was just like an inconceivable amount of money to me at the time. Like, wow, like I'd be freaking rich making that much money.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I paid $100 for it. It was like 40 pages. It actually was really good. It laid out like if you're a personal trainer, here's how to sell fitness. So I bought that, and it definitely helped me make more money. And then a few years later, there was an ebook that came out called 531. Now, this is also like deep internet lore at this point. 531 was a strength program, like I said, came out over almost, I think, 12, 13 years ago. At the time, it ended up selling like 500,000 copies, something like that. And this is the very early days of like internet commerce, e-commerce. This very different market from what selling online is today, right? So this 531 ebook is by Jim Wendler. I met the editor of it. He became a mentor of mine. He was the editor for Muscle and Fitness. So I used to write for fitness magazines back when magazines were still somewhat relevant. But I met him. This is like 2013. I've been training 3 years, and he told me that 531 at that point had sold like 500,000 copies. And I remember doing the math in my head. I was like, that ebook was $30, right? So it sold 500,000 copies, like 3 times 500,000. Like, I was just stunned. Like, the guy made millions and millions of dollars from an ebook. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So I was like, I'm going to do that, right? So that was the plan. And it took a few years because, again, internet business in the early 2010s, it was still in its early stage. Nobody really knew how to work it.
Mm-hmm.
You're learning as you go. You still are. But eventually I started launching my own information products, training programs, fitness programs. This was 2017. And since then, they've sold really, 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 really well. And I have an internet, I have an email list of about like 43,000 people, something like that. So I sell on X, I sell to my email list, I sell on Instagram, and sales come in. And it's a very, very simple direct to consumer, direct to follower, DTF business, as I like to say. And it works.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how I hit the 2 million mark, which was a year. Actually, it might be closer to 3 million now, but that was like beginning of last year.
Well, I'm a fan. I went and I bought one of your products. I did. I think you call it a bikini body program. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Yes. So I wanted something that was super simple to the point. And the thing about it is when you're buying digital products, you should notice, as someone who uses social media, just from a customer perspective, you should notice that they're not always that special. I guess I want to say like the products. And the point is that you're buying it from someone that you trust and you want to support. There's a million and other different ways that I could have found a workout program that was simple in the way that I was looking for, but I specifically wanted to purchase a product from you because I trust you and I can ask you questions in the DMs. I don't feel like you're going to ghost me, which is something that happens very often for other people that are on social media. And I can't blame them. Some people, their platforms get so big that they can't keep up with their customers. So I was really glad that you answered my question, because the way that it went was I said, hey, I really like running and I want to cross train, but I don't want to spend a lot of time thinking about it. And you really did deliver. It is such a simple plan. I can't put it out there because that would be wrong of me. But I'm like, I cannot believe this gentleman put it together. I showed it to my husband. He was like, this is very simple and it works. And it was worth it to me. I got results too. I think postpartum wise, I think I've lost over 5% body fat so far. And I'd like to lose maybe 5% more or something like that. But what I like about the product that you made, and we'll have the link to it in the description down below. If you're a busy mom, just trust me and buy it. But you do need to have a gym membership in order to use it. It's not the home gym kind of deal. But what I really liked about it is that there's a very small set of workout plans. It's either this one or this one. And I don't have to think when I go to the gym. I pull up that one or the other one and I find the machines and I accomplish the task. It's like a checklist. I almost feel like I'm on a scavenger hunt, and then I'm done, and then I'm happy, and then I'm more ripped. So that is my review of your product. I hope it was good.
That's good. Yeah, no, ebooks, I've always believed that ebooks, like at one time they had a bad reputation, like an ebook, who would ever buy that? But I think they have a unique value proposition, honestly, because if you buy a book off the shelf, like this is always the problem with fitness stuff in general. And I realized this years ago from just training people, right? people just, they want a plan. They want something to follow. Like, just give me something. I can go to the gym. I can start doing it right now. You know, this is even back to the magazine era. Like, I remember being 15. I go to the drugstore. I'd look at the muscle magazines. I didn't really read the articles. I would just flip through to what the workouts were. That's what everybody does. I could give you like the woman's book and it's 400 pages. I'm like, this is going to teach you how to woman write. And it's like, okay, you're going to flip through it and be like, I just want to know where the diet is so I can lose weight. Like, you're not going to read that whole thing. And at the same time, a book, like a paperback book, great for like deep subjects you really want to learn on academic level. There's no links. There's no links. Like, you can't click on, like, everything in my program is always hyperlinked. How to do the exercise? Click on the link. Yeah, what about this? Click on the link. It tells you what to do. And as you just said, you can message me online and I probably will in fact get back to you. I still do all of my customer service for the most part, where it's probably inefficient, but I actually like talking to people to use my stuff. So it's like, you could buy a book off the shelf. Let's say it's $20. You're just going to be looking at, you're going to take a picture of a page with your phone. You can get an ebook. You have access to the creator. You have access potentially to a community. You have access to the actual workouts themselves, potentially video, all this stuff. And it's solving an actual specific problem in a way that's effective. That's why, digital products sell so well. And that particular ebook, like, my audience definitely is mostly men. It's like 85% guys. I'm not like a male content creator that creates content for women. I have no interest in doing that. But the irony is, when I was a personal trainer, my clientele was mostly women. It's like, so my perspective has always been like, I'm great with women in person. Online, trying to, like I said, be like a guy that does female content. I'm like, I don't really think that works at all. I don't know any guys that do that. Maybe there are guys that do. I don't know. I have no interest in doing that. I'm a dude. I make content for men. But I always had something of a female following. There's always girls that like to follow macho guys, and even if there's nothing specifically for them. I got that request over the years of like, hey, you should do a girl product. I'm like, what am I going to call it? So I just called it bikini body. I'm like, that's what you all care about on some level. That word's going to hit with everybody. But that program itself is based on like 10 years of practice. And as we found out, it does work really well.
Yes. Well, when you're a mom, you just don't have the same amount of time as you used to. And I'm not going to pretend like you can't be a hyper efficient mom. You can. Okay. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. And people want to knock on that, but it's true. Your life will be better if you wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. But a lot of us are not going to do it. Okay. So listen, if you're a busy mom, hey, that's the program for you. Hit it up. It's going to help you out in the future. So I was wondering, with your 200,000 followers on X, how do you manage to keep your content engaging and maintain such a strong connection with your audience? These people are loyal. They show up to your meetups too. They're about it.
So as you probably realize, I tend to talk a lot. Like, what I realized years ago with like online followings. So yeah, I guess I am a little bit older than you, a little bit like earlier in the generation. So I realized in like the probably early 2010s that there was already a decline in social trust with institutions. Like, I could already see that happening. And I also saw online, as I kind of talked about, where I saw people, at least certainly in the fitness industry, this is when blogging was like king. Like, this is all dead now. Nobody cares about blogs anymore. At one time, the way to be popular online was to write blogs. And I still have a bias for writing, because I'm older. But I saw these people becoming popular online in the fitness world who had blogs, and they developed followings. And this is when you could be way more raw online. There was much lower expectations in regards to presentation. Now, even especially for video, like, everyone has to look good. Everyone has to use the right camera and the right setup and like the lighting, like everything has to be professional now. 15 years ago, you could just write and it would actually show up in Google, and you could be off the cuff. You could be spontaneous. You could be yourself, very unfiltered. And I saw people developing followings. I was like, wow, that's really cool. I like to write just because I enjoy writing as a way to articulate my thoughts and express myself. And then I started working for a bodybuilder who, he's dead now, unfortunately, passed away, rest in peace, John Meadows, in 2014, 2015. And John had a really strong following even at that time, where he was just very blue collar. He's very blue collar. He's himself. He had great values. He's very genuine with the audience. He didn't try to appear as anything. So there were a lot of early content creators like that where they weren't seeking fame. They weren't seeking popularity. They just felt they had something to offer people, and they talked about, they wrote about it. Maybe they made videos about it, and they acquired an audience. And like I said, it was never my career goal to be an influencer, but it just seemed very obvious to me that if you want to have what I call like a virtuous relationship with your audience, you had to be authentic. You had to be useful to people. Like, if you want to have an audience and not go insane, your content actually has to be something that's educational, that's constructive for people. That's why I think a lot of like entertainer-based creators just go, ape shit, for lack of a better word, because I believe they know deep down like what I'm doing is just vapor. It's worthless.
Yeah.
Even to myself. And then on top of that, I was working in Hollywood, so I was like so there was a period of around 7-8 years where I was like a Hollywood personal trainer. I trained people in the entertainment industry, and I saw the fame monster, as I called, absolutely devour people's souls. Every year in Los Angeles, in Hollywood, there are tens of thousands of men and women that move to the city, probably more than that, and they want to be famous. They want to be an actor. They want to make it. They want to, whatever that fame means to them. And if you want fame, fame will eat you alive. And most people online today, especially, they want fame. I didn't want fame. I just saw this as a vehicle to be an educator. So because of that, and because I think I have a unique enough personality, because I lived in different places and I've done different things, and I've always been curious about the world, my audience is just very loyal. And for those that have followed me a long time, they've seen an arc of my life as I've gone from being a single guy, and being far less successful, to then moving around to places, then getting married and having kids. So they've seen me go from one stage of life to the next. And what really makes people fall in love with you in regards to being loyal is just seeing that transformation of a person, a man or woman, actually living their life and it having a trajectory and a direction to it. If I was still single now at 35, I'm sure I'd still be cool to a lot of people, but I don't think I'd be as interesting as a person. Life is about evolution. There are always new levels of being that you can reach. And for people who've been around, some of the people that follow me, some of my audience, they've known me for like almost 10 years, even at this point. So they've like I said, they've seen that whole transformation take place. So they're very deeply invested. And also, when anyone that's ever met me in person, I don't think they've ever been disappointed. I'm not short. I'm not out of shape. This isn't this is an AI augmented mask. That the hair is real, right? So those are all the things now where like young people, they want authenticity, and to actually go and interact with somebody who likes to meet their following and is completely unpretentious. Like, I'm not playing on act at all. All that is what hits with people.
Yes, I'm just now getting into the Meetup thing. I've always been kind of shy about it because I am that's fine. I'll just take it out. What was I going to say?
You are
I'm a little bit late to the meetups that social media influencers do. One, just because I think it's weird. Hey, here's a party. Want to hang out with me? But two, also, I've always worried a lot about my physical safety, because it's very different for a man to just hang out with another male influencer and host an event versus a woman who has a small child going out and doing it. And if she's even going to do it or do it alone. So I've been really thinking and contemplating, how do I want to approach something like that? And I have some ideas. I think I want to do Zoomer outreach. I'd like to host events for that generation, just because I think millennials are a dead horse. And I think, we've done enough beating it. It's not coming through. I have followed my cohort from when we were preteens, and these people really do still believe the same things that they believed at 12 and 13. There is no reaching them. And I just think that Gen Z is a little bit more vibrant and fresher and saw the areas that we failed. So I think they're worth investing my time in. So that's kind of what I'm wanting to explore. I want to say for the next year is Zoomer outreach and get around to hosting Zoomer events, which it can be pretty intimidating to host an event. there's a lot of logistical work that has to be perfected in order for an event to happen.
Yes.
Yes. Tell us about your first event. Tell us.
No, I was going to say that's actually a really good observation you made the other day on X, where like on millennials sort of being a lost cause at this point. I agree actually, because I'm 35 now, right?
Yeah.
At this point in time, if you are a mid 30s Zoomer male, a mid 30s millennial male, and you're still, let's say, unmarried, you got red pilled, black pilled really hard about women, you're a lost cause. It's not worth talking about. Yeah, same thing for women, unfortunately. Like if you're a millennial woman, you're still single, 30s, 40 even, it's still struggling with men, female dynamics, male relationships, gender war, lost cause.
Yeah.
If you're not having kids, you're not investing in the future. And the really, I've said this, you've probably seen me say this. I know you've said this too. Like the really cool thing about Zoomers, like Zoomers are very based. They've grown up in this very torturous political, ideological environment. They have very strong opinions. They don't want to be like millennials. They've seen how fucking uncool so many of them are. And they're also, unlike like a lot of millennial individuals where it's always been like the sort of this, if you're a conservative, right-wing, whatever you want to say, millennial individual, you've grown up in this world where you've always had to play like catch up to like shitlibbery, what we call shitlibs, like the left. And you sort of work within their frame and like you do this very stupid back and forth. Let's have a debate, all this gay shit. Zoomers don't give a fuck. Zoomers dismiss bullshit outright. And they're very humorous about it. And they're funny. And they know how to play the meta game of social media. And they're very irreverent. And like I found that very cool with the younger audience members. I'm like, you guys are way more adaptable than my generational cohort is. But you expressed that very well the other day.
Yes. Well, the way that I found out that we were the problem is that anytime I brought up the ages of 30 and 35 about women, these chicks would just freak out every single time. And I was like, what is that? Who is 30 to 35? And I was like, oh, it's millennial women. Yes. We genuinely suck because if you think about it, the oldest millennial woman is 43. Who I don't have the capacity to kind of understand when the internet started. So I don't know how long these particular women who are 43 years old have been online. Some of these women have been complaining about men documented for 10 years online. Well, their whole life, yes. But the online part, that's crazy because there's receipts. You can go back and you can look at your old posts and you're still complaining about men. I came across this buried Facebook account that I had from 3 to 4 years ago. I am not even the same person. It is crazy. I don't know how I got on this accelerated based pathway. I didn't mean to, but looking back, I kind of tried to people please a little bit more online and, here's my opinion. And now I'm like, no, this is my opinion. If you don't like it, you can unfollow me, get away. But in any case, that was how I came to the conclusion that it's millennial women, because the things that we asked for, we got them. We're still complaining. We have financial equality. We even have birth control that you can buy over the counter. You don't even need a prescription. There's no ID verification either, which is actually dangerous for young girls. And we got the right to terminate pregnancy beyond the first trimester in several states. At what point do we look at ourselves as a group and say, you know what? We got everything we wanted and we're still miserable. Maybe it's us. Probably never. Politics is going to be wild for a while.
Yeah, I mean, millennial women, even men too. I'd written about this like in the mid 2010s. Like millennial women got like they were like the last stage of feminism, right? They were the ultra feminist generation, and then millennial men were like the ultra cucked millennial, hipster male generation. Like the majority of them. This was like this is not a new problem. I've been reading about like how much men suck and how there's no real men left in the world since like probably 2011, 2012. It just got worse over time. Zoomer males though, they're great. They're going to be way more masculine. Like I can already see it happening. With the Zoomer age women, whatever. Like women have no real political beliefs anyway. I don't really care what they think about what they think, honestly. But the world is going to be all right. Is my point. I'm very optimistic about the future.
I'm so pumped, and the girls, they wear dresses without complaining. You'll have millennial women complaining about anyone suggesting they dress more feminine and they don't like tights. And the Zoomer girls, They're like, well, I want to feel like I'm on a prairie. So I'm going to wear a dress like if I'm on a prairie because that's the vibe today. And that is the energy that more women need to have, That's why I like Jenny so much at Take the Love Pill on Instagram. She is her whole vibe. She dresses how she wants to. She dresses fun. It's a good time. I really love her perspectives. You guys can check out her information. It's going to be linked in the description down below. I felt like she was worth mentioning.
Yeah, I've recommended Jenny for like a long time now. So she started following me at some point. I don't know when, 4 years ago, but she's cool. Excuse me. She's great. Her dating advice, especially for the young people, is spot on.
I wanted to ask you because I think you're right about this. The Zoomer generation, they lift better than anyone else. These kids are in here. They have proper form. So why do you think that is? Because I see it all the time. Some 18-year-old it took me years to figure out how to lift in the way that they're lifting in some instances. So.
Yes. Well, yeah, I did answer the question about doing a first meetup. I'll combine the answer. So I had a meetup recently, right? So this one was this was like a more official meetup. It's more like an actual event. I do my business partner. It's like a cigar nightlife event. So we had about 40 guys show up. I think about half of them were Zoomers. So about 20 of them. All of them lift. So at this point we're pretty seasoned with meetups, and like doing anything where you get people together is very logistical. You can have an audience of hundreds of thousands. People that actually are going to come and travel, like it's always less than you think. Anyway, but we had this, we could talk about that after, but so we had this meetup, about 20 Zoomers were there, all of them lift. And so I was talking to them about it, like, I was asking them, like, what was your kind of experience? And a lot of them, they all follow me, obviously, but for them, they just have so much free information available through YouTube and Instagram and TikTok with how to work out, where, even for someone my age, I did not. When I was trying to learn how to lift, you had to buy a magazine. Pretend this is a magazine. You'd open it up. You'd like read the exercise description. There'd be pictures, and then from that you'd have to deduce like, okay, I think the exercise is supposed to go like this. There were no videos for lifting. Fitness YouTube really didn't take off until probably 2012, 13. So
wow, sorry, my mind is blown. This reminds me when my husband talks to me about how how people drove before they had GPS with the MapQuest or like
Thomas Brothers. When I got my license, GPS was only when I get my license, 2004, 5. Anyway, but I mean, GPS was only in the most expensive of vehicles. Like that was like a Mercedes S-Class. Maybe had GPS in 2008. Maybe, but I remember getting my license, and my dad, we went to AAA Auto Club of California. We got paper maps. He bought me a Thomas Brothers guide, which was a map book, and that's how you learned how to drive around. That's what everybody did. They used maps. Obviously, now nobody can navigate anywhere. Like where's north, south, east, west? I don't know, but we use maps. And the way we learned how to work out, and this is the other thing too, working out, like teenage boys have always worked out, but at that, this is over 20 years ago. If you were like really lifting weights, that was still kind of niche. That was like, oh, you're like one of the meathead guys. You're trying to bodybuild. I compare this now where when I went to the gym when I was 15, there was a few guys my age. There'd be the football players might come in. There's, it wasn't a ton of teenagers. I can go to a gym now, like walk into a Planet Fitness at like 3 o'clock, in like a mid-sized town. It's like 80% high school kids, guys and girls. And that was the other big thing too. No chicks lifted in 2007.
Yes.
That wasn't even a thing at all. There'd be one, if you went to the gym, there'd be one older woman in the weight room who started lifting in the 1980s. Okay. And she was like like an older Gen Xer. There was no girls at the gym. I go to the gym now. I go to a very exclusive gym. If I go to like the, middle gym now, it's all guys, it's all girls. It's probably like a 50-50 gender split. All the girls are training their ass. They're all squatting. They're all hip thrusting. They're all doing lunges. All the dudes are like, and everyone looks pretty good. That's the other factor. I'm like, I know 80% of Americans are overweight. Yes. But the segment of Zoomers who are really fit in shape, I don't know what the exact number is, but I imagine it's pretty high. It's way more than when I was in high school or college.
You know what? This thought came to my head when you were talking about this, that it wasn't very co-ed before, and now it's very co-ed now.
Super co-ed.
I think that's where all those weird social problems are happening, where, men and women, they finally start working out together. What's the first thing women do? Oh my God, he's looking at me. It's terrible. And go ahead.
No, I was gonna say the thing about the gym, because Zoomers have grown up in this world where everything is just like fake and gay and stupid, and you have to know people's pronouns and all this shit. The gym is like the last refuge of normalcy.
Yeah.
You go to the gym, there's only two genders at the gym. Fat, blue-haired, Zazer, Zame people are not going to the gym. It's guys and it's girls. And you're all there because on some level or another, you want to look hot. And like you said, it's very co-ed at this point. So then all these like normal biological sexual urges and impulses bubble up. And like that's what normal human interaction is. And obviously girls do this dumb shit where this guy looked at me like that. And, I'll try to entrap him with a camera. But even with that, like if I go to Alpha Land sometimes where I live over in Houston, it's all Zoomers. Everyone's getting along. You can tell there's like sexual tension energy. That's healthy. That's how it should be.
That is so true.
If you don't like it, go to a girl gym or find an ugly gym where it's only dudes.
You and I both know these women are not going to work out at no female-only gym because they want men to stare at them, okay? That's the goal, to get stared at. And you know what? I hate the idea that it's just men that have a problem with seeing half-naked women, which I don't think the men necessarily have a problem with it. I think they get distracted. But shoot, sometimes I get distracted, and I'm like, I just wish there was a standard we could have at the gym where I could say, hey, you know what? I'm a little bit mildly offended by this Post-it note or this G-string. Can you guys do something about it? But it's never going to happen. I can wish and I can dream. I'm not trying to get everyone to work out in burqas. I'm just saying sometimes y'all be taking it too far, man. There was a guy, you said that there's no fake and gayness. I assure you there is some type of gayness going on. We're gonna have to blur or bleep out a lot of these words. This guy.
Let me qualify. So like when this is me being semantic. So when we talk about fake gayness, so there's two versions of gay, right? There's gay, which literally means just like, oh, homosexual male. I'm not talking about that type of gay. That's like G-A-Y. We're talking about like the G-H-E-Y gayness, where it's this constant facade of just bullshit that you have to put up with.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I just wanted to say that in terms of the nakedness, I get it. There's sexual tension in the air. It's healthy. Sometimes people take it too far. There was a guy in the gym who, like, he had his situation tucked and he was wearing girl booty shorts. And I was just like, how much more naked can people be? That's just not what I was trying to deal with when I went to the gym that day. But anyway, let me stop distracting the conversation. Let's talk about GLP-1 peptides. What are they? Are the people that are using them scumbags? Should they just die instead?
That's a hell of a pivot. Okay, so where do you even start with that? So I guess I would assume that the audience probably at this point has heard about like Ozempic.
Yeah.
So, okay. So yeah, let's
everyone's got probably at least one member of their family that's on something like Ozempic, Mounjaro. I don't know what all the other ones are called. Those are the two that I'm the most familiar with. But we all have at least one overweight or diabetic family member who is put on it.
Okay, so so I'll give you like a little science background. So GLP-1, so that stands for a glucagon-like peptide. So this is basically, it's a hormone. So hormones are just amino acids. There's lots of combinations. It's actually a naturally occurring hormone in the body that is secreted by the small intestine. So yeah, it's arguably like it's like a synthetic version of a natural hormone. Okay, and the GLP-1, these peptides, they actually are just a version of what's called semaglutide, which is a GLP-1 hormone, this receptor. Long story short, it was originally developed from Gila monster venom.
Yes.
So this has been talked about. It's a very interesting story. So it was developed from Gila monster venom. This is like 2005. This is before anyone knew what peptides were, but it was originally a drug designed for diabetics to help stimulate normal insulin release. And this was 2005. So this was 15. No, not 15. Almost 20 years ago. Geez, well, that was a while ago now. I think about it. This is almost 20 years ago. So that was like the first GLP-1. And then over the years, just to fast forward, the drugs kept getting more and more advanced. They kept working better and better. And now the current generation of stuff like Wegovy and Mounjaro, it's GLP-1s and also GIPs, GIPs, which those stand for glucose dependent insulin tropic polypeptide receptor. Who cares what that means? It's two different hormones that the stomach produces, right? So what they do, to actually talk about what the hell do these things do, they suppress appetite. That's like the first thing. So you take it, suppresses appetite. It slows down digestion a lot. That's where it can start having side effects. And it also acts in the brain as well. You got these receptors all over your body. It also can serve this, in so many words, crush addictive behavior. So it has brain effects. It has stomach effects. They work. They 100% work. The problem is that they have lots of side effects. So like they are black box drugs. Some of them, they have side effects. They can cause stomach paralysis. They can cause really bad nausea. Now, there's a trade-off. Like, would you rather be obese and, die from obesity and those complications, or would you rather lose the weight and maybe have to suffer through using these peptides? And hopefully, if you use them correctly, in quotes, you could come off them. But the drugs do work. And yeah, I wrote like a big long thread about this on X about them, kind of detailing the history of them and like some more of the science of them. But the problem is that they just work too well. The way they would have to be properly used is, this is where human beings are just very error prone and fallible. The way to actually properly use GLP-1s or any of these peptides, you'd go on a very strict diet. You would inject the drug in a proper dosage. You wouldn't eat much the first few days. Eat very light. It'd be a very easy to digest diet when you do eat. You might have some nausea initially. You'd also be exercising, lifting weights, calorie controlled, proper macros, protein. You'd be doing all these right things. It wouldn't just be the drugs. Now, the problem for most people is they're not doing any of the other things. They're just taking the drug. And it's like, oh my God, I got so sick and I vomited. I couldn't eat and it put me in the hospital. And after you hear all these horror stories, I'm like, yeah, that has the potential to happen. Like, I'm not telling people go out and take this. If you are obese though, and you've never been able to lose weight, maybe you've been obese your whole life. Your whole family's obese. You've been obese since you're 5 years old. This could change your life, but you have to do everything right. You can't just inject it and think it's going to be a miracle drug and it doesn't require anything else from lifestyle change.
Yes, I always find it so fascinating when the side effects come out and they make these major news headlines, but I get it. It's engagement media. They have to find something that people are going to click on. But of course, I want to say, if you kick up your metabolism and you don't eat the nutrients required to accommodate that, of course, you're going to have side effects. The whole losing hair thing, I'm not surprised. If I put my body in starvation mode long enough, my hair is going to fall out too. That's a normal thing that would occur.
Especially for women, since obviously these drugs are super popular with women. And men, but women, it's like, oh my God, I want to get snatched. That stupid word. I don't know how it became a term. Anyway, but the problem that women always have, this is just eternally, women don't eat enough protein.
Yes. Yeah.
I had this problem even to this day with female clients, and trying to tell chicks, like, you got to eat more protein. I don't want to eat protein. It's fattening. It's like women don't know shit about fuck when it comes to nutrition most of the time. It has gotten better over the last 5 years. There's a lot more Zoomer age women now. Like, women's health has grown, but the average girl just doesn't know anything about nutrition. They don't eat enough protein. That's why your hair falls out and your skin doesn't look good, and you don't recover well. You have these obese chicks, fat girls are going on Mounjaro or Ozempic, Wegovy, whatever. They're not eating any protein. They're probably doing like the typical shit women do. It's like salads. I had 2 eggs for breakfast. I'm drinking my iced coffee. And then you get some paralysis and you're in the hospital. It's like, oh, this drug fucked me up. I'm like, you didn't do the process correctly. I'm sorry that happened to you. But again, this is also the fault of the drug companies. It's not like the fault of the consumer. Drug companies, this is a $1 trillion industry selling fat loss peptides. So their goal is just to sell as much as possible. Like your individual health, like you have to be very conscientious about this if you're going to take these things.
Well, I was talking to my husband a little bit about it. We watched that South Park episode, The End of Obesity. If y'all have not seen it, you need to see it. It is on Paramount Plus. It is hysterical. But I was telling him, I'm like, I'm not going to do it. But what if I did? And he basically said, look, okay, yeah, you can do that. However, it is not going to give you the primary side effects of exercise that you really like. Because what I really like about working out is the endorphins.
Mhm.
I want to feel good psychologically. Of course, the hot thing, man, it feels great looking hot. Okay. Don't let anybody lie to you. If you've ever been that way in your life, cherish it. Take some pictures, man. But, the other aspect of it is when you get your blood flowing, you get the oxygen going to your brain, you start having new ideas, like less miserable about life. And he was saying, yeah, you inject that stuff, you're not going to feel those things from that. You'll just lose weight. You're still gonna anyway. That's the whole selling point. Because I like to be devil's advocate sometimes when these new medications come out. I'm not gonna pretend like I'm not above temptation.
I mean, you're not a candidate for it though. Like you're not overweight. If you were 100 pounds and you were like you've been mucho gordita your whole life, like go on a Ozempic. You're not though. Like I was telling people that like on X, I'm like, so I had some women to ask, I'm like, if you're not 100 pounds like overweight obese, there's no reason for me to take this. Especially if you're in like that, I want to drop 10-pound range. Get your ass to the gym, like eat right, like taking a fat loss peptide that's going to potentially have really bad side effects just to drop weight that you could drop like in 2 or 3 months. Really?
Yeah, no, I know. I'm not going to do it. Okay. I'm just saying, I see these celebrity women, they're clearly getting it. You know what I think 100%. Is going to happen? Right. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, where is it? I think what's going to happen, and this is where I don't want to be right, but if I am, at least it's online right now and I'll get street credit later. I think there's going to be a black market for these GLP-1 medications for women who cannot get the prescription because it's contraindicated, meaning because you have a medical condition, you cannot get prescribed this medication. Or if you just don't qualify, like you said, like I'm not obese, I'm not going to qualify. I think that women are going to turn to the black market. And I actually think some of them are going to die. I hope I'm wrong. Okay, well, but if I'm right.
Okay, hold on. Since I see you're not like a bro, the peptide market already exists. You can already. So this is where so we could talk about bro science, but like this is where bros have been way ahead of the curve. Peptides for fat loss have been around for 15 years at this point, almost 20 years.
Wow.
So before Ozempic or Wegovy or any of this stuff ever hit the market, bodybuilders have been using this since at least the late 2000s. So semaglutide like that, you can order it as a research chemical. Yeah. Now the challenge is you have to mix it yourself. You need to take bacteriostatic water. You have to reconstitute it. You have to know how to inject it. Like there's a learning curve to this. It's not like you just buy it off the shelf. But
sounds terrible.
Bros have been using this for dieting, for bodybuilding shows for a very long time. Now, that's where a lot of like the street research came from. It wasn't necessarily even clinical research. It was just guys on forums sharing their experiences. So like that said, are women going to get into that? Probably to some level or another. But when you buy Mounjaro as Ozempic, you get a prescription. It's already packaged for you, right? You just stick it in the pen. Buying the research chemicals, from companies, you can do that. You'll have to mix it yourself. If you mess that up, you could hurt yourself pretty badly.
Yeah. Well, I was mostly speaking to, you remember when there was a whole, the pill mill situation, the opiate crisis. I feel like it's still a crisis.
Opioids, yeah.
Yeah. So, people will get prescriptions and then turn around and they'll sell them illegally. I'm not saying to do it. I don't condone it. It's obviously, it's a crime.
Oh,
I'm saying that's what's going to happen with this stuff. I think because women, we want to be cute and some of us don't want to do the work to get it. And we will literally probably, the women that is contraindicated for as patients, they're going to go to someone who's going to turn around and sell it. Watch. I'm making the prediction right now. It's going to start disappearing off the back of trucks. Interesting.
There's going to be some big girls selling their like excess Ozempic.
Yeah, they're going to be millionaires. Oh my God. That was so good. Let me stop. Okay. Anyway, I wanted to ask you in closing, how do you balance all of the stuff that you do? You're an entrepreneur, you're a husband, you're a father, you have 2 little ones. How are you doing all this?
Follow schedule. Yeah, I mean, I've worked with some very high-level client. I've worked with people who are extremely wealthy. anyone in the world who gets shit done on a daily basis, they have a structure to their time. Like it's that basic. There's nothing fancy about that. There's no like, why would you evolve schedule? If you want to get anything done, you have to structure how you use your time. We all have 24 hours in a day. Yes. Why does X person get more done than X person? Well, number one, they just are more organized. They know what their priorities are. So yeah, that's a challenge for a lot of people, knowing your priorities are. And then my cat's just not doing water bottle.
It's okay. No, anyway. It's fine. I have an editor. This is going to be his problem. It won't be my problem. It's fine.
And then they know what their priorities are. And then number two factor, as you become a more focused person over time, and you know what work that you do has leverage, and what has the most impact, that's what you focus your time on. This is, to use like a very generic example, Elon Musk. There's a lot of things. Elon Musk does not do most normal things people do on a day-to-day basis. A lot of remedial tasks, like he's not cleaning his house. He's not going out and buying his probably, hygienic products. He knows exactly what he's going to wear. He's following his own schedule. Everything he does is high output, high impact. He knows what his major priorities are to make his life work, to make his companies work. And that applies on a small scale. For someone that, especially for men, they're trying to run multiple businesses and having priorities. What actually matters and what does not matter? I have a lot of things in my life that I have delegated. I don't clean my house. I don't fucking fold my laundry. I don't really cook. I cook my own food a little bit because I like to cook, but I have a lot of things that are done for me. Almost all my domestic stuff, I don't do. Someone else does it. My wife does it. Housekeeper does it. Whatever. And I say that not out of arrogance, but like I only have so many hours in the day. Same thing if I have to get car, something fixed around the house, hire the person, call the person. So I have my life streamlined to what actually moves the needle on my businesses. What work do I actually need to be doing to make things happen? And that's it. And then, aside from that, I've got training, physical stuff, working out, and I spend time with my children, my wife. And everything else, like it's a kind of a running joke in my family, extended family, like, Alexander doesn't do this, Alexander doesn't that, Alexander doesn't have time for these things. I'm like, I have time for what matters, and what doesn't matter does not matter. Someone else can do those things.
Well, you don't think that's a little bit privileged of you to outsource 100%. Your menial labor?
No, 100%. Absolutely, it should be. No, but that's what it means to be successful. If you want to reach the peak of life in anything, you have to think like an aristocrat. I have, this is going to sound arrogant, I don't care. I have zero interest in relating to normal people. I do not want to have anything in common with regular people problems. It's like, that's privileged. Exactly. Because when I was young, when I was in high school, I knew then I didn't want to live a normal life. I didn't want to have to deal with normal people bullshit. I didn't want to have to worry about money. I had a list of things. I'm not going to live this way. And I don't. I live exactly how I want, and my life runs very well.
Well, I think that is the goal. It's not a thought. It is the goal. That's the goal. So I think that you're doing a wonderful job. And where can the people find you?
That was such an asshole rant.
No, okay. You want to go back to it? We'll go back to it. No, you're allowed to outsource those things and live that way. It's been a mindset adjustment for me, for sure. So I had an internal locus of control for a hot second in my 20s, but then it suddenly vanished when I became a mom. Like somehow I got an external locus of control, and I'm trying to kick that thing. And I'm like, how do I do that? I'm trying to brainwash myself with Alan Watts. I don't know if that's going to work or not.
I don't think it's going to work at all. No, this is the fundamental difference between women and men. And it's a good difference. It's not an unequal difference. It's a good difference. Men, the way I view being a man is that you are responsible for the external world. So you have the role, you have this burden of performance, as some people like to call it, where you're responsible for your wife, your children's well-being, potentially your family's well-being. You have to construct your own universe around yourself. You are your own gravity. And you marry a woman, hopefully, you bring her into your orbit, you bring her into your world, you two create a world together. You are responsible for the external structure. Now, what happens within that world, your children, your household, that's your wife. And that's also equally important, but that's your wife. And then you are the one that's the provider. You're the one that provides the comforts of whatever your living standard are, where you live, of course, how you travel around, all these things. Like that's what you do. That's what I do. And then my wife does, the more familial stuff, obviously, because
Mhm.
she's the woman, and that's what her gifts, her talents are. So that, that's how I've always thought. That's how I've conceptualized it. But to your point though, like, once you have children and you're a mom, your mental calibration, as you said, it's going to be external because you have the kids. Like that, this is going to happen.
That's true.
The challenge for moms, as I'm talking to you specifically, as you
Mhm.
get older, you have a daughter, right? I think.
Mhm.
Yeah, your daughter gets older. It's going to be creating not breaking that connection, but creating a boundary where you still allocate time to yourself, and you don't have the guilt that comes with being away from your child for X amount of time, or maybe
Mhm.
someone else is watching your daughter. This is a struggle that I think it's a good mom problem. Like I called this when I was training female clients. Like, this is like the good mother problem. You want to do everything for your kids. You want to run your family world. It's like, oh,
Mhm.
it's so hard to find time for myself. And what I always tell them, you would be a better mother. You will be a better mother if you love yourself more, and you take that 1 to 2, 3 hours out of your day, whatever, and you invest that time in yourself. And you're not being a bad woman doing that. You're not being a bad mom. Your family's not losing out on you. You're going to be able to show up more. You're going to be healthier. You're going to be fitter. You're going to be more confident, stronger, more energetic. You're going to be an improved version of you, and don't feel guilty about doing that.
Mhm.
But that, like I said, it's an adjustment. Since especially when the kids are really young, your whole world revolves around your kids.
I just think that women sabotage other women because if you post, "Hey, I went to the gym today," and you're a wife and a mom, you're gonna get some kind of haterade comment from another one. Must be nice. Like, what do you mean must be nice?
It is nice. It is nice because my husband makes more money than yours, and I can afford
Yeah.
to put the kid with the babysitter. And I'm sorry, your husband's a fucking deadbeat. So
Yeah,
I
literally.
always call this, like, I told all my female clients this: don't listen to your stupid, shitty friends.
Mhm.
And this is more, there's a little definition of this and a metaphorical one. As you
Mhm.
said, women always sabotage each other, and every
Yeah.
woman, this is like it's just women are catty, right? Not all women, but a lot of women are catty and conniving.
Yeah.
And it's always a competition. Everything in woman's life is a competition as to who can woman better than the next woman. So like you're a young girl, you're hot. There's a hotter girl. There's a prettier girl. There's a more attractive girl. Yes. You become a mom. There's some mom that's momming better than you, and you're going to compare yourself to her. I told my wife this: you got to block all those bitches, all of them. Any nasty comment, any sideways thing you get, oh, that kind of must be nice. Oh, I wish I could do that. Block,
Yeah.
block.
This is such a good episode.
No,
Yes.
block. Yeah.
Mhm.
And this is always challenging because women like to argue. Obviously, I talk a lot. Women like to talk, but I don't argue.
Yeah.
Arguing is a very female feminine trait. It's like you're going to have this bickering back and forth. I still see chicks online get caught up in this constantly, even female creators. Well, they start arguing with whatever in the comment section. It's like, why are you wasting time on this? This
Mhm.
person has no interest in understanding you. There's no mutual, comprehension that's going to be had. They're doing this because they get to take energy from you, and this battle is going to be the most meaningful part of their day. And now you just upset yourself for like 4 or 5 or 6 hours a week. Why? Like you have to
Yeah.
tell your husband, not me, literally, like take the phone away, close the laptop, just stop this. Cut these people
Honestly.
out.
Yes. Well, I'm a big advocate of taking breaks. I'm about to take another break, but I feel like I want that to be one of the longer ones. Um, okay. Well, I had a lot of fun interviewing you. Probably the most informal interview I've ever done, but it's just because we had such a good time. It's hard not to laugh. You have such a good energy about you.
Thanks,
Not to
Aly.
use, you're welcome, not to use such ambiguous terms. Sometimes those terms work. Okay. Sometimes it is the vibes, guys. I realize that sounds very low IQ. Disprove me.
No, vibes are real. Yeah,
Mhm.
especially with meeting people online. Like you had
Yeah.
asked earlier, like with your first meetup with this stuff. Like, yeah, I just had this belief that if you express yourself, like you express yourself authentically, I
Mhm.
think I express myself authentically. The people that you meet that follow you, they're probably similar people, and you'll probably
Mhm.
get along. You'll probably have a rapport. There won't be that sort of tension, like getting to know you stage of like, do I like this person, not like this person.
Mhm.
You'll probably have a mutual level of what we're going to call it, vibes, energy, vibration,
Mhm.
whatever. And that's a good thing.
Mhm. I wholeheartedly agree. So, where can the people find you, and what can they expect from you moving forward?
So, best account, my main account, obviously, is X, AJA _Cortez. If you type in AJAC on X, I'll pop right up. I'm also on
Mhm.
Instagram as well, same handle. The next thing that's coming fitness-wise, I have a new program, like cohort coming out, Bar Zero program. So that's actually going to be like, I'm finally publishing a book after 15 years of doing this, but that's going to be, it's the digital version of the book, and then
Mhm.
the paperback version will come out later in the year. So that's coming. We do have some more nightlife events coming, I think in like the fall and winter. So I guess I announce those like as they get put together.
Mhm.
I think the next one will be in October. So probably like in Chicago or Dallas. That's what we're looking for location wise.
Mhm.
And then, the big thing that I'm working on right now, big thing, I'm working on my business partner and I, we're putting together a supplement company and coffee company kind of simultaneously. So Pisos Cafe, so that coffee will be coming out in the next 2 months, and then the supplements will be coming out in about the next 3 or 4 months. And I'll be announcing like when the products are available, obviously,
Mhm.
on the socials. So just look out for those.
That is really exciting. Thank you. Yes. So, for those of you that are watching, I'm very dedicated to Zoomer outreach. I have a new email list for you guys in the description down below. It is beacons.ai/ZoomerPilled. I believe that you guys are the best investment of my time compared to talking to modern women. Don't you know you're 30? You should probably get your act together. Listen, you guys are young, fresh, and vibrant. The youngest of you is 12. I hope if you're 12 that you're not watching my stuff. And the oldest of you is 27. So put in all my eggs in your guys' basket. We're going to do some great things. We're going to do some meetups. I'm going to try to get the guys together. I will not be leading meal retreats. I mean, I will bring you guys the food and the snacks, but I am not leading that because I don't want to. It's not my place. And for the ladies, I'm looking forward to possibly doing a ball or a baking class somewhere in a cute city.
That's
We have,
good.
yes, it'll be a lot of fun. We have a professional baker, and I'm launching a new podcast. It's called Zoomer Pilled. So far, I have 3 female pundits and 1 male pundit. It's going to be a good time. These are some fun kids. I hate calling them kids. Some of them aren't. I don't know. Maybe I'm just an old soul.
I call everybody that's younger than me a kid. So whatever.
And what is your closing comment? What is one thing that you wish you knew at 18?
Without me going on like another long 20-minute story.
You can if you want.
No, so what I would tell anyone who's 18 now is that your success in life is going to be dependent on, well, number one, the skill stack you can create, where don't listen to anyone that's 40, 50 talk about jobs. The future of work now, the future of success now, it's stacking up skills, getting good at lots of different things. So just everything that you do that's professional, it's a skill. It's a skill. It's a skill. The more skills you got, the more potential you have, the more successful you're going to be, the more you learn, the more you're going to grow. That would be the first thing. Number 2, health-wise, get healthy now. If you're not already healthy, you're not lifting weights, you're not doing all those things, this is generic stuff, but get healthy now. As you get older, when you hit 30, you're going to see the difference of people who didn't build skills and didn't take care of their bodies, and it's going to be a dramatic difference. This is what everybody goes through when they turn 30, or even, I'm 35 now. The older you get, the more people diverge. And the people who were on the good path, when they were young, invested in themselves, believed in self-education, self-investment, healthy habits, they're on an ascendant pathway. They're going up this way. The people who did not, they're on a downward spiral, downward slope. And that becomes, as I said, sharper and more of a contrast the older you get. So start with those 2 things now. If you do that, you'll be fine. All other things being equal about relationships and romance, you'll figure it out. Have confidence in yourself.
Oh, that was a sweet ending. Thank you. We will see you guys next time. Bye.